Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We are honored once again to have both Generals Vallely and McInerney with us, a Major two-star general and a Major General, of course, General McInerney, and very, very honored to have them first and foremost. And we've got a number of questions to ask them, per usual, concerning geopolitical and financial note. So very to see what they have to say on those things. As always, if you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share, as it helps the channel grow and others to gain and the knowledge you've been afforded. You know, both these aforementioned gentlemen have exemplary resumes that probably go miles long and loads of experience that come with doing that. They both have been Fox contributors in the past, so you know them well, and we are honored to bring on both General Tom McInerney and, of course, Major General Paul Vallely to the podcast. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great. Thank you, John, for
Thanks
the
for
invitation. You have a great show.
Thank you. Well, you make it possible, so thank you for making it what it is. Okay, gentlemen, so the first question out of the gate is, many people believe that President Trump and Elon Musk are adversaries, when in fact they're very much in cahoots. Take the Patriot Party, for example. They seem to be working together to form a third party that will ultimately revolutionize the political and overall freedom of choice for the country in effect going forward. What are your thoughts on this movement's efficacy in terms of removing the rhinos and the deep state Democrats from the traditional two-party system, which really doesn't offer the people any real true choice whatsoever?
Go ahead, Tom, if you want.
Well, Elon and President Trump's relationship is kind of rocky. It's up and down, so it's really difficult to determine. I don't think Elon's going to be successful in a third party, but I don't know. It's just that we've never had a successful third party in almost 250 years, so I don't see it coming now, even with Elon's money, because it's not money that is a determining factor in a party, it's ideas. And I think the Republican ideas under Trump have been very good, been excellent. He's reached out to minorities and a whole host of other people, women, and he's done a great job in that. And he may very well have had the best 6 months of any president in our history, and go back to George Washington. It has been incredible what he has accomplished and what he is going to continue to accomplish. And some of the subjects that we're going to talk about today will emphasize that, I believe. We are in a disinformation campaign with extremely talented people that are our adversaries, like they are listening to this show, John, and everything General Vallely and I do, they listen to, and they have an expensive, elaborate system run by, I believe, and I won't mention the name, but a retired Army four-star. And that's why you see when issues come out on Joe Biden talking about how incompetent he was, and then the next day comes out that he has cancer. All these things are done in time very well. And we're seeing that right now with what's going on Jeffrey Epstein and Comey and Brennan, et cetera. So we're in a very sophisticated environment, and it's important that we discuss the issues. But bottom line is, I don't see a third party generating.
Mr. Vallely, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I saw on Twitter this morning that Elon has apologized to Trump on some of the negative things he said in the past. So maybe that cemented the relationship back. Trump doesn't hold many grudges, so I think whatever they can pull together again to be a good team, and Elon to help Trump, especially in government efficiency. I know he's not doing that now, but excuse me, certainly has an impact on some of those people. But yeah, I agree with Joe McInerney. Trump also said we already have a new party. MAGA basically is the new party from the Republican standpoint, the new movement. Um, and so I think by energizing the Republican Party to be more MAGA, make America great again across all the different across the economics, to our military, to readiness, and so on. But I've also written articles too. I'm not sure we need political parties anymore. They become too partisan. They separate. They argue. There's other high-tech alternatives I've seen that we can elect people to office at the local, state, county, state, and federal level without using political parties. But anyhow, that's just something to think about.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, gentlemen, for your weighing in on that. It'll be interesting too to see in terms of technology. You're mentioning Major General Valley about with respect to Starlink and the freedom of choice and the free and fair elections that takes away the election rigging and whatnot that we've been dealing with. That's been, as Major General McInerney said, for decades. It's been going on for far too long. So definitely needs
Absolutely right too.
to remove that corruption. So I agree with you both from that standpoint. Next question is, you see certain members of President Trump's cabinet talking about stepping down. Dan Bongino comes to mind, and the others, such as Pam Bondi, are being pressured to resign, yet he's standing behind her, asking for more time for her to be able to do her job, referring specifically with respect to the Epstein Files. So a lot of consternation, let's say, going on about that subject. Some people believe it's never going to come out, whereas on our side, we do believe it's going to come out. And it's, like you said, General McInerney, time for effect. So with that in mind, do you both believe the Epstein Files will come out to the public? And what do you make of the moves and the counter moves within the framework of the mainstream media concerning the circus of this?
Let me start off on that, but you know, you had the release by John Radcliffe, the director of the CIA, looking into criminal investigation to Comey and Brennan as a result of their particular roles in the Russian hoax, etc. A day later, it seemed the Epstein files popped up also. And that yesterday, for instance, on the Hill, the Democrats have been pushing very, very hard to release them. Now, Epstein was a Democrat. Most of the people involved, the names I've heard or seen, are Democrats. But there are both sides of the party on that. I think if you look at this in total, John, you look at what Epstein did, it will expose certain people, elites on both sides, that had major problems. Okay? But that's it. If you really get down into the Brennan Comey book and what's going on, you're going to run smack into our two books, Invisible Treason in America and Beyond Treason. And these two books are going to lay out, and you've heard General Vallely and I talk about this, about the theft of the 2020 election, all the things that went on that. And they still tried to do it in 2024. They were thwarted. But that's what you're going to get out of, because Brennan has been the primary leader behind this for Barack Hussein Obama. And that's where that investigation will lead us. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't lead us anywhere, except certain people were disgraceful and vile Americans. But the fact is, it doesn't lead us to what General Vallely and I have been working so hard for the last 4.5 years on, is the danger to America and how we will lose America. And it's against a lot of threats, but the red-green axis that is starting to impose itself is due to the opening of the increased number in the 12 to 20,000 illegals that came in, that how many are Muslims and what they are trying to do and what's going on in New York City right now. So that's what I think is being presented to the American people, and it must be articulated what their objectives are. And that's why I think that when you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, and then you talk about Brennan and Comey, that's the difference. One of them impacts, I believe, the future of America. The other, it impacts some people, but it doesn't change the governance that this country is facing and will continue to face. And we have thwarted when you consider that our adversaries impeached Trump twice, they indicted him 4 times with 94 charges or something. They assassinated 2 times that we publicly know, and General Vallely know, and I know of 4 other instances that have not been brought to light, but have been attempts. So they will do absolutely anything to get rid of Donald J. Trump. And that's the challenge that we are facing now. And that's why I think the Comey Brennan investigation is extremely important. They're the ones that created the Russian hoax. They're the ones that fell in with all the other issues of the impeachment, the indictments, etc. It's the same puppet master pulling the strings. Over to you, General Vallely.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tom. Let me give you my take on the Epstein. The criminal activity, sex trafficking of young women, okay? That's the center of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And influential people that went to the island that Epstein had, plus his estate there in Florida, plus his places in New York City and Manhattan. There's only 2 people. Ghislaine, she got 20 years. She's already in prison. And then Epstein's dead. Now, if you want the list, the aircraft manifest list have been out for 3 or 4 years. I've seen them. It's been on television. I think 60 Minutes did a whole thing.
Yep.
They had 4 to 6 of the young girls, one of them at 12 years old at the time. They're in their late teens, early 20s now. And so what are you going to get by taking all the time? Who are you going to try for what in court? What have they committed? Well, they had sex with a young underage girl. Well, then you got to prove that. And who's going to testify? Prince Andrew, for example, with the young girl. How are you going to try all that stuff? And the time it would take for Department of Justice, Pam Biondi and others to try people for something that they'll lawyer up big time. It'll be a waste of time. And I agree with President Trump. Let's put it behind us. Epstein's dead. Ghislaine is in jail trying to get out on appeal right now. And Joe McInerney pointed out, we have 51 plus people who committed treason against America, including Obama and Biden and Brennan and Clapper and Comey. I mean, that's where the focus should be because they actually committed crimes against America. So that's my take on it. Let's move on. I know a lot of people would like to see the expanded list, the contact list that Pam said she had, but again, most of those names were all exposed in the press on television on those aircraft manifest lists.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be interesting, gentlemen, to see how that all plays out because, there's always more than meets the eye. And a lot of people are making an issue of that President Trump's name was on the list, but he never actually went to the island. He just borrowed that plane to go home because, if the deep state had anything on him, they would have used it by now. So,
well, they lived in Manhattan together, for God's sakes.
Right.
They went to parties together, cocktail parties, fundraisers. So what?
Mm-hmm.
To Joe McInerney, I've been with a lot of people also at different cocktail parties and events in Washington. So,
right.
Yeah, there's no there.
Right. And additionally, Major General, as soon as President Trump became aware of Epstein's nefarious behavior, he kicked him out of his country club. So,
Sure.
again, if they had something, they would have used it by now. I'm sure you both would agree. So thank you.
He was a scumbag and he's dead. Jazane was a scumbag for working with him and she's in jail. So what more do you want?
Absolutely. Gentlemen, information seems to be flowing at the speed of sound lately, so much so that it's often difficult to keep up. This is more of a sort of a military question, so it's tailor-made for you both. Are we at stage 9 of the color revolution? Or in other words, are we at the end of this process and now we're summarily marching towards freedom on all fronts?
Well,
Go ahead, Tom. I'm not sure I understand the question, but go ahead.
I'm not sure I do either, John.
Well, okay. So for example, we have President Trump I think it was last month when he had the big American flag that he put up right in front of the White House or the White House. Many are subscribing to the belief that that was overcoming of the Vatican and the British foreign influence over US, and that ostensibly we're now either back or coming back into a constitutional republic, getting rid of that influence. How do you both weigh in on that?
I think he just wanted 2 flags, one in the back and one in the front.
Okay.
And he paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with General Vallely in that one. I don't see any deep significance to that or the things that are going on in a color revolution or whatever it is.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm
adversaries that want to destroy, John, want to destroy America.
Which goes back to your previous statement, General McInerney, about the treason aspect of the things that need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
So we're
what our books are about.
Right. We're just trying to explore the space to kind of see from different vantage points, just to get your breadth and depth of scope of experience on it so that the public or our particular audience can benefit accordingly. The next question is, we see the war with Russia and Ukraine continuing optically. Much speculation is being made about President Trump's defense-oriented weapons and the concerns that possibly presents to the American public's perception of its respective handling. Is this much ado about nothing from a military standpoint? How do you see it all playing out as Russia clearly has the upper hand against Ukraine?
Well, I think that clearly President Trump wants it stopped. Putin does not want it stopped. Trump has now laid down his cards and given him 50 days, or he's going to put in those economic sanctions. And frankly, China, India, the other countries can't afford to have those economic sanctions of 100%. Trump is serious. Trump knows how to use economic power. Excuse me. Trump knows how to use economic power. And he does it brilliantly, and we're fortunate that he does. And I think he's going to be successful. He's got a great personality with leadership. He stopped the Iranian thing, the only thing on Iran. I know we need a change of leadership. They should have killed the Ayatollah and the other leaders. They killed quite a few of them, and then let the Iranian people take over. But for whatever Trump's rationale, he didn't do that. One of the reasons he didn't, he does not want to take up and try to rebuild Iran like we tried to do with Iraq and Afghanistan. Nation building is a very difficult thing, particularly in a Muslim country. But one of the things are Persia is about 48% Persian, 52% are what I call cats and dogs. And it's an easy country, it should be easy, to let those people take over. And so I think let's let Trump be the peacemaker. He's doing the right things, and he's going to make it hard for Vladimir to continue down the road he's going down.
Well, we know what Trump feels about Zelensky, weak leader, out to make a lot of money. He's very corrupt. But he's really upset with Putin in the four discussions that they've had, that Putin says one thing, and of course, then the military action attacks take place the next day. Some of them have been initiated by Ukraine. Putin was reacting, his generals were reacting to that. Uh, and Trump's had it up to here. He wants this thing ended. So he's going to take action, and it's up to Putin and Zelensky. But listen, Zelensky's a dummy. I mean, this guy has zero leadership capability, but the NATO countries seem to be in love with him. And Trump's latest initiative is to say, okay, we'll provide supplies and weapons, but you have to buy it, NATO, Europe. You have to buy these things from us if you want to then send it into Ukraine. So that's another initiative. I don't know where that one's going to go, but we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully, Putin and Zelensky and the group there in Kiev are going to lay down their arms. They could do it at noon today if they wanted to. Just stop fighting, and it's done.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be very interesting, as you both said.
Ukraine's finished on the ground. I mean, they have no ground capability against the Russians now, so it's all up in the air with drones and missiles,
Right.
and Russia's controlled a little bit more territory than they had last month. So, and all that eastern Crimea and eastern Ukraine, they're all pro-Russian. They're not pro-Ukraine. They want to belong to Russia. They want to be part of Russia, not Ukraine. So you got that working.
Absolutely, Major General. I mean, you look at Donbass and Lugansk are primarily Russian provinces,
Yep.
Russian citizens speaking Russian. They're fighting off the Azov battalion, which is pretty Nazi over there in Ukraine. We know, we've talked about this before, the glut of, pedophilia and money laundering and big pharma and a host of other nefarious things that Ukraine has been used for over the years. And that
And
just,
Ukraine, John's lost. I mean, 15 to
Yeah.
20 million Ukrainians have left Ukraine.
Mhm.
And, all the rebuilding of that country and everything that's got to occur, that's what they need to focus on now.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you, Major General. I appreciate that. General McInerney, on our last podcast, you made a very interesting point amongst the many. You rightly pointed out that Iran needed to be dealt with, this was back in June, in the next 2 weeks, I believe you said. Interestingly enough, that occurred with their nuclear power plants being decimated roughly 300 feet below the surface. Do you now see the grave surrender of Iran occurring? And what implications does that have for their little brother Iraq in their neighboring area in terms of having freedom, prosperity, and sovereignty going forward?
Well, Iran is key in the area. I was there in 77, and the Shah was thrown out in 79 on a CENTO exercise. I was a commander of 18 U.S. Air Force aircraft that participated in the CENTO exercise. And then it was just absolutely disgraceful what Jimmy Carter did in throwing the Shah overboard. They have been the key to all the unrest in the Middle East. And there's no question that President Trump made a courageous decision. And I can't tell you how impressive that strike was. Prior to that, I was commanded the longest strike against terrorism back in 1988 when we attacked Gaddafi from the United Kingdom with 111s. And we weren't going against hardened targets. But the fact is, it was brilliantly conceived and carried out. And it sent the right signal. There is a peace right now, so to speak, but the Ayatollahs have got to go. He's just got to go in those leadership because it's a radical Islamic regime.
Yeah.
The rest of the Arab countries don't want them around. And they know they're causing all kinds of trouble. Trump's last visit over there, when he went to Saudi and the UAE and Qatar, was very, very beneficial to America and to, I believe, the Abraham Accords will expand. It's important that the Abraham Accords do expand because that will defang any of the radical Islamists from wanting to continue to kill Jews and Christians. You know, Islam, as General Vallely in our first book, Endgame, the Blueprint for Victory in the War on Terror, and we wrote in about 2000, what, 3 or 4, Paul?
3 or 4, yeah. 2004, I think it came out, yeah.
But it became obvious to us, Islam is not a religion. It is an ideology. And why do we say that? Well, 85% of the Quran has to do with management, leadership, and war fighting, etc. 15% has something to do with a religion. And clearly, Muhammad was not a prophet. Muhammad personally has killed over 1,000 Jews. How many people did Jesus Christ kill? 0.
Mm-hmm.
If you kill a Christian or a Jew, as we last saw on 7 October in Israel with Hamas, you become a martyr, a shaheed, by killing a Christian or a Jew. That's not a religion. That's an ideology as evil as Nazism, fascism, and communism. And so that's where I leave it. And it's important that we change the leadership in Iran. Now, it can be the Israelis. I'd let them do it. They're brilliant at it. And I know that they could bring in the Saudis and others to help. But remember, the Saudis and that, you've got Iran is Shia and Saudis are Sunni. So they've got that fight going on. So it's kind of hard to do that. But whatever happens, Hamas cannot survive in Israel or in Gaza. There is no way. And I say that, and I think I've said it here before. I grew up in Germany after World War II. My father ran the Mercedes and BMW factories before the Marshall Plan. There was no Nazism. It was not allowed. They didn't have 1 or 2. If you're a Nazi, they moved you out. Even though a lot of them were Nazis just because they ran the railroads and they did all that. George Patton had a problem with that. But the fact is, you cannot have Nazis or Hamas in Gaza when they rebuild it. Do what we did after World War II. And in the 4 military zones we had in occupied Germany, United States, United Kingdom, France, and Russia, there were no Nazis allowed to survive.
Yeah. Well, back to Iran. There's 2 major expatriate groups that exist outside of Iran. One is the National Council of the Resistance of Iran, formerly known as the MEK, Mujahideen al-Khalq, and they're based out of a small town north of Paris, where many of the Iranians evacuated when they left after the Shah fell. Plane loads flew to Paris, and they set up a whole Iranian population there. The other group is Cyrus Force Iran. You can Google it, Cyrus Force, that's based out of Florida. But they have tentacles inside Iran. But the problem that I've seen is they have no leadership inside Iran that would counter the Ayatollahs, which, as General McInerney said, they've got to be replaced. They've got to be taken out, and then the people can rise up. But every time the people inside Iran try to rise up, Savak, the Secret Service police over there, they end up killing them, putting them in jail, hanging them. But there's no real group. As Joe McInerney said, the ethnic groups over there are the Persians, the Baluchis from Baluchistan, the Arabs in the north and the Kurds, and the Arabs down south on the border with Iraq where the oil fields are. And then most of the Persians live in the Tehran area. But Azerbaijanis in southern Azerbaijan, they're part of Iran. So, but there's no Joe McInerney, there's no identifiable leadership inside Iran that can counter the Ayatollahs because they'll kill them. And of course, they don't have any armed organizations that can counter the Savak and the military of Iran. So it's a bad situation. But someone else has got to take out the Ayatollahs, I guess is the bottom line, as Joe McInerney said.
I completely concur with you both. That was a great summation. Thank you for that, gentlemen. And also, I do think also to your point, John McInerney, you're absolutely right. Israel would be the perfect, country and establishment to take them out. And it's just my suspicion that that's probably what's going to happen because, to your point, last month they needed to deal with Iran, and they did. And I think that they'll be called on again to take out the Ayatollah, as well as the corrupt Iranian proxies, both within Iran and Iraq, respectively. So I think you're over the target with that. Turning our attention, gentlemen, real briefly to the financial side, as you probably are both aware, ISO 20022 went into effect yesterday. It has huge implications for both cryptos as well as the global economy, respectively. Can you talk about the importance of this concerning this event, as well as BRICS and their ever burgeoning stronghold over the old dead Federal Reserve dollar, particularly with Operation Sandman?
Well, I'll hand that over to General Vallely.
You should pass that one to me. Well, we've been at the Stand Up America U.S. Foundation. You may want to put General McInerney on our website up when you can, standupamericaus.org. That's where all our books are, our writings, and our interviews and so on are posted there by our staff. But we have a crypto conference going on in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today that Trump will be speaking at. You've got BRICS. It's estimated they'll control 65% of the global economy, GNP, within the next year. And of course, Brazil, fifth largest economic country in the world. You have that with China and Russia. And of course, the favorite leader of BRICS is Putin. Mm-hmm. And they're accumulating a lot of gold and silver, which we need to do as well to back our dollar. I think we need to get rid of the Federal Reserve very quickly, move those functions of monetary policy back into the Department of Treasury where it should have been and stayed all along. And their pressure now is, of course, to remove Powell and to lower the interest rates. But BRICS has said they're not out to kill the dollar, but the stronger they get may mean that we have a weaker dollar unless we go to the gold and silver standard. So, but it's like the thing about sanctions really don't work against a country like Russia. I mean, they may work against smaller countries and so on, but you do workarounds. And if you need whatever, like Russia, they can go to Brazil, they can go to India, they can go to China, go to the other BRIC countries. And so the South African countries are joining BRICS in big time. And so they've been able to pull in the influence of Africa now. But I think that new financial organization is very strong, very powerful. And that's why all these people in Washington want to throw out sanctions against Russia. It'll do nothing. Putin will get whatever he wants because they can buy it. They have the money. And their economy is doing much better than people would think as we listen to the Western media and their propaganda as they continue to downplay Russia. Russians are very smart. We need to engage them more. And of course, that's what Trump is trying to do with Putin if they can settle this Ukrainian situation.
I agree, Major General. Interestingly enough, I was researching it. To your point, Russia in 2022 and 2024 was actually one of the #1 ranked economies in the world, actually. And that actually follows up my next question to you both. It seems that Russia is breaking away from the U.S. financial stronghold, particularly the Federal Reserve. And I do agree with you, Major General, that Trump is killing the Fed dollar in order to usher in the gold-backed dollar to get us off of the mistake that Nixon and Kissinger made in the early 70s, you'll both well recall. So before we go into Russia, just to mop up this touch point, Major General Valley, it's our team's very curious contention that we believe that Judy Shelton is a very good prime candidate to take over for Powell and restore the Treasury / Federal Reserve to bring back the gold standard. I was curious to see both of your thoughts on that.
Well, it'd be much better than Powell. Powell doesn't listen to what's going on and react to it. It seems to have more of a political outlook on things rather than a pure financial outlook. So he needs to go, no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
again, I think we really need to move the Federal Reserve. We don't need them anymore. We can conduct our own policy, monetary policy, so on with the federal banks in the Treasury Department. So
I agree. I think you're spot on, Major General. Going back to Russia, since we were talking about that. So as the world's second largest gold producer, they seem to be pretty intent on listing gold on the St. Petersburg exchange by the end of the year or sooner. How significant would this be for Russia's economy, as well as their influence with BRICS? And how does this impact the other BRICS members countries that comprise the overall BRICS group? You talked about 60 to 70% of the world's global economy.
no, it's a great effect. It's even affected Florida. Did you see what happened down in Florida?
I did.
Now use silver and gold as an exchange for purchases.
Right.
Yeah, it's the first state to do it, DeSantis. And of course, I collect silver too, so I'm a big backer of that and gold. But we'll have to see what happens. But we're going to see. Trump's got so many things on the table. He can only do so much in the second 100 days, and he's trying to do it. They're fighting him, fighting home and DHS and ICE and all of that all over the country. And you got the idiots out there. I guess California. I think, Tom, I'm not sure, still the fifth largest economy in the world, but it's being managed by idiots. Uh, and so I don't know what's going to happen out there, but I think some of the states are going to take more of the initiative to honor gold and silver in purchases and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look, Major General, at Texas and Tennessee, they've been actually trading partners of gold and silver since the early 1800s. So Texas is, also paving the way for things with the removal of income tax, the property tax. And of course, now you see Marjorie Taylor Greene came out last week talking about the removal of capital gains on homes, which we believe will just be the starting point, will probably effectuate into the financial realm as well. So a lot of exciting things, as you said, basically on the horizon. So, gentlemen, as we close up things for today, I'll turn this over to you both. Last thoughts that you have for the audience. And of course, Major General Valley will plug the website as always, where people can find your work.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe McInerney.
Well, we're fortunate to have President Trump. He's a global leader. America is back on top. We are a hot nation. I do believe that it's very possible that he will get us back on the gold standard. I do believe it's very possible through overwhelming consensus of the American people after his 4 years that we're gonna want him for another 4 years and give him a third term, just because he is going to have the country running so smoothly and such an important role globally, attracting the dollars that he's attracted now. That's coming in. That's what, somewhere between 10 and 20 or 30 trillion dollars being attracted. We've got to redo the whole energy grid in the country because of that. AI is going to consume a huge amount, and he's going to rebuild America and in a very dynamic way. And I believe the American people are going to say, we need you another 4 years. I'm not pushing that, but I think the common sense may be pointing in that direction. Over to you, General Vallely.
Well, since the Democrats have no leaders, we don't have any leaders independent either that we can identify for a national office like the presidency. but I can see that, well, the figure I've been trying to look for, John, is the self-deportation, since we have uh, alligator Alcatraz. I think that was a great psychological move, General McInerney. I mean, if I'm an illegal out there and I'm apprehended, I better be thinking ahead of time of self-deporting with the app they have on the phones, and get the $1,000 and get the hell out of here. Because if you don't, you're going to Alcatraz in Alligator Alley in Florida. But anyhow, his initiatives are so creative. Every day he comes out with something, and he attended the World Cup event. I mean, he's UFC, and I mean, he's out there with the people all the time. I think it's just wonderful. But he's got to battle every day. But these left-wing nutcases are not bothering him at all. He doesn't care.
Oh.
He knows they're dumb, they're useless, and they ought to be trashed some way. Anyhow, that's my bottom line.
I agree with you, Major General. Absolutely correct. His work ethic is second to none. I think it's impressive, to say the least. I mean, it's even a Sunday night is no consequence to him. He's going and doing, like you said, at least a dozen things in the course of the day, at the very least. But talk a little bit about, Major General, the Stand Up America's website, if you would, please, so we can give that some emphasis.
Yeah, make sure you go to Stand Up America US. Got to put the US in there, .org. If you do Stand Up America, George Soros founded to challenge us in 2015, Stand Up America. And it's not us. We're standupamericaus.org. But we post everything on there. We have a good staff, good articles. All of our books are there that can be autographed, and we encourage everybody. It's amazing the last week, the number of book orders we've been getting in. People listening to your show and others are buying our books now, and we're very encouraged by that. So anyhow, keep positive and support our president and support his team as best we can, and don't get distracted by all these side events and so on.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely accurate. General McInerney, if you wanted to show those books again, just for posterity, we'll get those up so people can see the books that Major General was talking about. Okay, there we go. And those can be, Major General Valley, those can be on the website as well?
They're on the website. Yeah, you can buy them in bundles, 2 or 3 or 4 at a time. Different packages are there. You can also get them on Amazon, that's for sure.
Okay, so folks, please go ahead and continue to check out website standupamericas.us.org. Again, we'll leave that link in the description. Please do support the great work that these generals and the rest of the staff does as well. General McInerney, Major General Valley, thank you so much for joining us at this day. We appreciate your time and energy and attention and your experience. God bless you both, and we'll look forward to seeing you again shortly.
God bless you, John.
God bless you, John. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.